A spectacular performance. Curry from half court.
Sometimes, something looks like it's been there a while.
We are here, the 3 Points Podcast. We're gonna give it a round of applause. We're gonna start out the episode with a round of applause. Thank you, Dub Nation, for the 2025 season. It's been a pleasure. It's been a ride. Mike Dunleavy Jr., you gave us hope with the Jimmy Butler trade. It was one of the best trades in the league. If it wasn't for Nico Harrison's all-time fumble, you could have gotten GM of the year with that trade because our trajectory changed 180 degrees once Butler came. So I really got to give you a shout out. For those who don't know, for the fans living under a rock, we lost last night. The Golden State Warriors were at home. We lost 117 to 110, with probably our worst loss of the series so far up to this point, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe game two. No, no, we game two maybe could be like second worst.
Well, this because the bench lineup that we put in towards the end of the game went on like a random like 8-0 run. So the score looks way better than the actual result was. In reality, we lost this game by like 15 points, and that doesn't show up on the scorecard, but that's what the actual score was. So this is probably our worst loss.
And I may give the edge to game two just because that we were still experimenting with our lineups. We had like Braxton Key, we had like all these randoms coming in for a little bit, Pat Spencer and stuff, even for a little bit. So maybe I'd give that loss a little bit higher. Although
That's
no,
well,
actually,
that's good. What I was gonna say, I'd give that loss a pass for that exact
yeah.
reason because it was a loss that A, people kind of knew was coming going into it, and that B, it was obvious from the way that Burr played that game that he wasn't really expecting to win it. So
Yeah, so you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, it was a test game. So naturally, you can't expect to win a test game. So circling back, the Warriors lost last night, 117-110, with the worst loss of the season, and now the Minnesota Timberwolves are officially 3-1 in the lead as we head back to Minnesota. And we just also found out Steph Curry is officially ruled out for Game Five. So, without kind of talking about the future of Game Five, which will Game Five, Game Six question mark, Game Seven question mark. Let's just kind of dive into this one. I'm going to just go by the stats. Jimmy Butler, it'll stand out the most. Plus minus negative 30. He, by the plus minus metric, was the worst player on the court last night. Very tough to see. Now, initially, when I was kind of watching the game, and as the game ended, I closed the game mid of the fourth. I went to sleep. I have three finals tomorrow for the fans at home, so remember me in your prayers. I was thinking. I was upset naturally. Initial reactions, hot off the game. I was pissed at Butler a little bit, like, come on, man, it's playoff Butler, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Minus 30, he looked like an absolute shell of himself. He was 5 for 9 from the field, only 9 attempts. Draymond had 14 field goals. Draymond had five more than Butler. 0 for 1 from the three, two turnovers, and just very sloppy, very, very sloppy overall. But the one thing I will say, which is, as I thought about it a little bit, I have to give Butler a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because he's probably still not 100% himself. The pelvic contusion that he suffered in game two against the Rockets is probably still lingering. He's probably not 100% returned. He's probably kind of thugging it through for the playoffs. So I will give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. So it is unfortunate he just played really, really bad. The other thing that kind of stood out, Jonathan Kuminga, first half, beautiful performance. He was playing really well. He was hot. He was 6 for 13 in the overall game, but he was 11 for 12 from the free throw, and he was playing really well in the first half. He was scoring, he was dominating, kind of very reminiscent of the previous game where he was just hot. And back to back to back 3 games, game three, four, and five. Apologies, game two, three, and four. He's probably been the best offensive player on the court for us. Um, game two, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but game three and four for sure he has been. And you love to see it. I think it is unfortunate that we couldn't utilize him to allow us to get to the next round, most likely, because the truth is he's probably not going to be here in the offseason. He's going to sign elsewhere. And I think he should sign elsewhere because I don't think we even utilize him well. I don't think Kerr is utilizing him well. The management mistakes that I was ranting about last game, one example of that. I think he is an extremely talented player. He's a phenomenal player. Like clearly, we've seen him when he gets hot, and when he's used well, whatever that means, he plays really well. The one small other third thing I'm gonna note, then I'm just gonna pass it to you, Thomas. Um, Wes is not here, by the way, for the fans at home. If you noticed, it's been quiet from him. Uh, we'll say scheduling issues. Although we had agreed on a
Scheduling
time,
issues,
it
yeah.
got postponed by 30 minutes and then didn't work out. But hey, it's okay. He's here with us in spirit, and we updated the episode sold tally. What's that tally, you may ask? It's a tally we keep for the individuals who messed up recording the pod. Currently in the lead, Wesley. Uh, Circling back to the one coaching mistake that I noticed that stood out to me immediately was first half we played really well, except for Butler, but he healed pretty solid. He was 13 points overall, but in the first half he was hitting his shots. Kuminga, hot start as well. The one thing I will say that happened, which I think was not a good start for us in the second half, was we had Kuminga benched to start the second half. I didn't like that decision. Again, small thing. I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? If you lose three games back to back to back, it really is just a talent issue to a certain degree, rather than a coaching issue. So that's why I'm not going to harp on it too much. But I do think Kaminga was hot. Let him start the second half. Not sure why we had him come off the bench. It kind of took him out of his rhythm. Had to make him pick up where he left off a little bit more. Although there was already that halftime break, I think that was a confusion to me, and I was like, just start. He's doing hot. It's kind of similar to what we did last game. We kind of kill his momentum. So other than that, same old, more of the less. Moody pods, no shows. The rest of the bench kind of struggling, and then obviously we kind of put in the scrubs towards the end of the mid end of the fourth, so it was kind of over. Thomas, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I think the big story is Jimmy Butler because he's coming off 33 points. We kind of all agreed. I mean, I was kind of leading the charge on this. I said even for a 33-point performance, I didn't think it was particularly impressive. I thought he looked off, if anything, and he only looked more off this game actually, which is interesting and not in a good way. He looked incredibly timid. He was treating the rim like there was a fucking force field around it that he couldn't, pass through. He would every time he would get any type of momentum going towards the basket, he would immediately try to cross the court and find a kick out instead of attacking the rim. He seemed to have no interest in taking any kind of jumper. Every shot that he did attempt was either like a putback or like right around the basket. And just generally, he looked so timid in a way that I've never. I mean, we've talked about like he definitely does seem to, at least in his tenure in a Warriors uniform, he seems to have a tendency to go out of his way to look to pass rather than to shoot. And obviously, that's always been part of the way that he plays the game. He tries to get others involved. He's not an aggressive, he's not James Harden. His goal is not to go out there and get up 30 shots. But especially, I think, in this game, if it was a conscious choice, it was a bad one. But I don't think it was necessarily. I think it was more so something that he was forced to do based on the way that his body was probably feeling. I think his body is, at this point, probably completely given out on him, and I respect him for playing through it. But it's clear that he just doesn't have it within him to be the number one option that we need him to be with Steph out. And I mean, you saw it last night. 9 shots from him is just embarrassing. Again, without the context of the injury, with the context of the injury, I think it's more understandable. But if he had done this and he was assumed to be perfectly healthy, I would have been very frustrated with him. But I think, like you said, at a certain point, you have to recognize it's not meant to be. With him, clearly playing at 60 to 75% with Steph out, there's just nothing to be done. I mean, you can start thinking like, well, what could have happened? Maybe Pods could have had another 28-point game, right? He could have gone like 12 for 14 instead of 3 for 14. Maybe that would have saved us. Maybe Buddy Hield could have had one of his games where he decides to hit 10 threes. Maybe that could have saved us. Neither of those things happened. And you can't be counting on those things to happen because those are things that are only going to happen once in a blue moon, once every, 6 or 7 games. And when the guys that you actually are counting on to deliver on a game-to-game basis, i.e., Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, are either a shell of themselves or just not on the court at all, there's no real path to victory. And obviously, I have to give a shout out to you. You did say exactly basically this before the game. I was choosing to be optimistic, even if, maybe a part of me knew that it was a little bit irrational. But I said, I believe Pods could show up. I believe, Game 7 Buddy could show up. I believe Draymond Green hitting 5 threes could magically happen. It didn't. And then I guess one last point, Kuminga, shout out him. He's had a very rough, very inconsistent season. He's at least going out on a high note. Maybe he's upping his potential value for a sign and trade. Maybe he's just upping the contract that he gets from another team. Either way, I agree with you. I don't think anything he could do. He could put up 50 points. I still think that would earn him a spot on a roster next year. And I think for the good of both this team and for him, I don't think he wants one or needs one. And I think he would be better off playing somewhere else where not only where he's not playing alongside guys like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green who killed the spacing for him, where he's not playing along within a system where there's two other alpha dogs that he has to compete with for the ball, and when he's not playing under a coach who clearly doesn't quite see him as the player that he has the potential to be, who clearly thinks that there's too many issues with his game to justify giving him the role that he wants. So, with all that being said, yeah, I mean, that's going to be, I guess, the story of the offseason. I'm sure pretty soon we're going to be doing an offseason episode. We can talk all about it. But as for this game, it was a good showing by him, but of course, not even close to enough. So
I was just thinking of a question and it kind of came to my mind. I've been trying to rack my brain and think of players that Kerr has allowed to thrive or that have thrived in Kerr's system that aren't natural 3-point shooters, that aren't naturally good at playmaking, or that naturally aren't good at off-ball production. Kaminga is the first case that comes to mind, and obviously he did not play well for us. Can you think of anyone else? Because I don't want to make like a blanketed recency bias statement, but really, I'm struggling to come with players in my mind in the Kerr era that have thrived or contributed positively with being kind of Kaminga's archetype. Very much
yeah, I
ball
mean,
dominant.
there's not any. I mean, the
Yeah,
closest maybe it would be. I mean,
like
Wiggins. We did
Jordan.
manage to unlock Wiggins, but the reality is we unlocked him partially because he developed a 38%, 3-point jumper.
And a
Whereas
very, very good
the
defender.
yeah, yeah. I mean, coming from Minnesota, he had been shooting 34, 35%, and the fact that he unlocked that right when he came to our roster, or maybe the second year he was on our roster in 2022, that was what helped him take the leap and earn himself a spot, 35 minutes a game in the playoffs. Yeah, and probably if he never develops that, he never earns that spot. We probably never win the chip, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but you're absolutely right. Big body slashers who are not super comfortable uh, playing off ball, setting screens for Steph and our other shooters, and spacing the floor. There's not really a ton of room for them in this system. Um, Jimmy Butler is like he's maybe to a certain degree he's that archetype, but obviously the playmaking instincts separate him from a guy like Kaminga and have allowed him to mesh with our system. Uh,
And Butler's
I
good
mean,
off
at the
ball.
same
Like he's
time,
decent off ball as well.
absolutely he's decent off ball. He's a great cutter, phenomenal cutter, good at setting screens. He can run the pick and roll, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, on the other hand, you have to acknowledge Kaminga's archetype is not exactly the most well-rounded player. I mean, those are the things that you're saying he can't do. Those are major limitations. Not being able to space the floor, not being able to play make reliably, not being aggressive or active off ball. Those are big limitations on anybody, not in any system, not just on him in Kerr's system. But you are absolutely right. I mean, I mean, I'm trying to think who's a player like
Like
players
Giannis,
of Kaminga's archetype.
the
Okay, bro. Okay.
one of the best players in the league, Giannis
Okay.
Antetokounmpo.
Um,
Like Blake, like the Clippers Blake.
Blake is an interesting one. Yeah, he does kind of come to mind. He developed playmaking later, but I mean, if you're thinking about who Kaminga could be, like in his best outcome, that is one of the guys you're probably thinking about. Another guy who jumped to my mind was Aaron Gordon, but one of the things that's allowed him to succeed in the Nuggets is that he's developed a jumper, uh, and that's allowed him to carve out a role in their starting five, winning championships. If he doesn't develop some kind of jumper, again, he's not going to be out there in closing games in the finals.
And then also
So
Aaron Gordon is just a way better cutter than Kuminga. Again, off ball, right? He's
absolutely,
just I
absolutely,
mean,
absolutely.
he's Jokic. Like I think Draymond made that comparison. Like anything that goes into Aaron Gordon's range, he's like a wide receiver. He'll swallow it up, and he's there.
Yeah,
I forgot the specific player Draymond compared him to, but yeah, I think the biggest issue for Kuminga is the off-ball limitations. I mean, even if let's say he's not a good playmaker, he doesn't have a good shot. Him being a cone off the ball is
he
super hurting his own.
he he just stands around. Yeah, he just stands there. I mean, and I don't know how you coach that into somebody when they've been playing in the system for 3 years, in the Warriors system alongside Steph, the system that even the most casual fan in the world knows is all about off-ball movement, and he has not managed to learn how to do it. And you would think that Kerr would have something, a coaching system developed that where you're hammering it into guys' heads. Hey, you need to move off ball. Everything we do revolves around everybody being able to move off ball. You can't just stand there. You have to move, et cetera, et cetera. So you'd think that Kerr would have a way to get this into his head. And if it hasn't, whatever Kerr's standard method of teaching his system to guys, if it hasn't worked on Kaminga, will anything work? You trade him somewhere else or he signs somewhere else. Are they going to be able to teach him to move off ball? Because if they can't, that is going to be a serious limitation on his value anywhere. It's like he's such a natural cutter, but he doesn't seem to want to do it. I don't want to say he won't do it because obviously he does cut occasionally. Every basketball player in the world has cut at least once, but he doesn't seem to want to do it. He doesn't do it consistently, and it's frustrating. Yeah, watching him.
Kind of circling back from that to just wanted to give some flowers to the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards. Oh my God. In the second half, he just killed us. He killed any shred of hope, dignity, and shout out him. He kind of started that trend with the halftime buzzer beater. Deep, deep three with two defenders on him. Calm, cool, collected, swish. And then he came out second half, went ballistic from the three. We just forgot how to defend. I think that's another thing that we both kind of didn't mention is that we just were awful defending last night. Awful. It was just horrible defending. Anything and everything they wanted, they were getting. Penetrating the basket, shooting three, everything they were getting, and then naturally those are momentum killers, massive momentum killers. When you get a bucket, and then on the other end, they got layups. Like I cannot even remember how
Yeah,
many layups they were just getting. So awful defending. The duo Randall and Edwards. Randall 31 points, 4 for 8 from the three, 11 for 21 field goal, 5 for 6 free throw. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. And then Edwards, 30 points, 11 for 21, 6 of 11, 5 assists, 2 steals. Just great. Great, great, great. It would be genuinely very, very funny if the Knicks, which most likely I kind of have going to the finals now that JT has been out for the season. I think they beat the Pacers if, the Pacers win tonight. It would be hilarious to see that Timberwolves versus the Knicks. That would be really funny. It'd just be like everyone was like dissing like I mean not the Knicks. Everyone for the Knicks said that it was a great trade, but like the Timberwolves, ultimately it works out for both if both are in the finals, right? Because that's more than
yeah.
either of them have ever achieved in a very, very long time. So I don't think that's the case though. I think the Thunder or the Nuggets beat the Timberwolves, to be honest. But again, that's a separate discussion, neither here nor there.
Exactly.
Don't want to get for a tangent. But huge shout out to the Timberwolves. I'm going to read some team stats as well, just to kind of highlight where we went abysmal. The one stat I'm going to read, the rest is more or less the same, is our 3-point percentage as a team. We were 8 for 27, 29.6% from the three as a team. The Steph Curry effect, right? He's not there, doesn't open up opportunities for others, and obviously he's the greatest shooter of all time. Tough situation. Very, very tough situation. And it was really bad. It was just an overall bad game. And honestly, the more I thought about it, it was like, it was kind of expected because we had two games where, sorry. So game three, if I'm not mistaken, game three, did we have a chance to,
Game three was the closest we've come.
sorry, I think I'm talking about game two. Game two, it was like, we never really were in in a
Yeah, exactly,
position.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where naturally, like Edwards had struggled back-to-back games. He had struggled game two and three. He came alive in like the second half, in the third or fourth quarter. This game, he was just playing well the entire time. Um, it was bound to happen that they were gonna start playing really well, and we missed our opportunities when we had them. So I don't really have any more to say. Any last words, Thomas, before I kind of go for my
Well, I mean,
remainder of the series prediction?
just with the Anthony Edwards thing, I mean, you can only play with fire for so long, as the famous MLB call goes. If you have our listeners who watch baseball, you'll know where that line comes from. Legendary call. But son, do you happen to know how that line goes? How it finishes? You can
Of
only play with
course,
fire for so long. Eventually,
it'll fizzle out.
it's gonna burn you. Yeah.
It's tough.
A guy like Anthony Edwards, you just can't keep him cold for 4 games. I mean, you could theoretically, right? I mean, it's not impossible, but you can't. It's really tough to keep him cold for 4 straight games. He was already starting to heat up in the second half of the last game. I did see some, NBA media people say he's due for a big game before, even before the game started. Narratively, it definitely does kind of feel right. He's cold for 3 games, starts to get hot, and then boom, has this explosion. Like it didn't come out of nowhere. And we know the caliber of player he is. And the reality is, when you watch the game, yes, they were generating some very easy looks, especially like against the zone where they were dicing us up with just some timely passes. But that was not what Anthony Edwards was not getting easy looks. Anthony Edwards was knocking down tough shots over Warriors defenders, and he's the caliber of player that can get into a zone where you cannot do much to stop him. And the fact that we didn't take advantage of the games where he wasn't in that zone makes it so that you can't sit there and complain too much that we ended up losing the game where he did get into that zone, because those are the games that they're supposed to win. So yeah, I mean, it's just one more thing working against us last night, and one
Yeah,
more reason why we lost by 15 points.
yeah, it's tough, man. I think you last episode, I was re-listening to the EP, and you were saying how Pods is also due for a big game, and it's just unfortunate. I think obviously young man, obviously again to a certain degree, I don't blame
What a
him entirely,
foolish
right?
thing to say.
It's only his second season. It's his first ever playoff experience. Um, it happens. Look, Moody Pods, keep your head high, keep your heads up. I think don't lose hope. It's fine. It happens. Like Moody, my God, that's just painful. Like he couldn't even play. He didn't get minutes basically. So that's really hard to see. But that's fine. Look, ultimately the series is not technically over, so we have to give our take for the rest of the season. Look, I think ultimately all you can do is take it game by game. Um, don't think about what's the best quote to summarize the situation? Rome wasn't built in one day, so you take it one day at a time, right? So next game five, is going to be in Minnesota. Steph is not playing, so naturally I could potentially see us winning that game, maybe just because we've had like kind of 3 games where we haven't been able to kind of figure it out. I could maybe see us one game just going really hot. Everyone, Dre, Buddy, maybe Butler. I could maybe potentially see us win game five, and then I don't know what happens if Steph comes back by six. Then it's kind of a different story. If Steph is back game six, then hey, maybe we got to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we're not, it's not over, right? So I definitely could see Butler having a monster game next game. We are due for one. Uh, you know what I mean? So my kind of final prediction, which I'll stamp it in, is we win game five. Then if Steph doesn't return, we probably lose game six. But hey, we'll take a game at a time. I think we win game five.
I mean, it's definitely tough. I think Jimmy has looked, if anything, he's looked slower and slower throughout the course of this series. He's looked less and less aggressive throughout the course of this series. He's looked like somebody who is slowly succumbing to an injury that's lingering, and he's probably making it worse by continuing to play. And again, respect to him for gutting it out. But I can't say I'm super optimistic about him having a big game five performance. I think the one thing that could possibly save us is, and I'm just going to repeat myself from last episode, that mythical Buddy Hield game where he hits 8 or 9 threes, which we all know he can do, even if again it's probably not going to happen, or the magical Pods bounce back game, which again is looking less and less likely with every bad performance that he puts up. His confidence looks like it might be shot. Some of the shots that he's putting up just are baffling. and they look like shots from somebody who doesn't quite know what they're doing and who's lost, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, and maybe a 35 per point, 40 point Kaminga game, the Kaminga breakout game where he shows everybody that Steve Kerr was wrong to mention for so long. He catapults himself into the national spotlight. Everybody's talking about it afterwards. Oh, he might actually be something. Like I could see that narratively. I can see how that would make sense. That kind of game. Um, Especially because, to be fair, when he's been on these last two games, their defense does not look like they have a ton of answers for him. When he's gotten cold, it hasn't been because all of a sudden, they were locking him up. It's mostly been because he took himself, either he was taken out of the game, or he's taken himself out of the game, or he started to miss the layups that where he was making earlier, which again is it's kind of just a hazard of the way that he plays the game. But with all that being said, those are the three kind of scenarios I can imagine that might get us over the top in Game 5. I am leaning towards the Warriors loss and an early offseason for our team, unfortunately.
My only hesitancy to the Kaminga pop out insane game is that clearly there have been a lot of indications. Ultimately, look, you never know what's going on mentally in someone's head, but look, 3 to 4 seasons of us with Kaminga has kind of shown us that he's not like super duper strong mentally in that regard. Like he kind of checks out. So he very
Mhm.
well could be like, "Hey, it's kind of done. We're down 3-1. Season is done. Let me not
Right in
injure
progress.
myself. Let me not injure myself, and let me prepare for the offseason to move on to bigger and better things." So I could very well see him just kind of be out of it, be like, I'm not gonna play too intense." Butler's again the injury lingering on. He has looked worse. Although, hey, he did have that game 3 where he scored 33 points that like weren't phenomenal. So it's kind of funny. We play this yin yang when I'm super pessimistic, you're optimistic. When I'm slightly optimistic, you're kind of pessimistic. So we'll see. I very very well could see us just lose for sure. But I don't know. I think I could see us winning. But it's one of those things that us as fans, as Warriors fans, have gotten accustomed to. I think the last 2 seasons has trained us well for this moment. Look at us maturing, taking the losses on the chin. I remember when the Warriors lost against in the second round against the Lakers. The first when we were the championships, when we were the champs, or the incoming champs, I guess. We lost in six. We all were sitting in your living room. Just the silence was crazy. I was laying down on your sofa, face down. I think you had an assignment due or something like that, so you were like kind of stressed about that. And then Wes was just kind of sitting on the other sofa. We were listening to sad, somber music. I think we had played the one song by the Smiths, or who are the British band, Thomas? The
Oh, I
uh
know it's over by the Smiths. Yeah, yeah.
There you go. We played that song. That you were like, I know the perfect song for this setting. And then you played it, and I thought, damn, that could not be more factual. So it's definitely tough, but I'm optimistic for the next season. These guys have not shown any signs of giving up and kind of um deteriorating, so we'll see. But that's neither here nor there. We will talk about this later, maybe in an off-season episode soon. Plenty of basketball left, plenty of playoffs left. The good news is we will most likely have a new champ this year. So that's exciting. That's always exciting when you kind of see new champs emerge, more. Yeah, so that's about it for today. That's enough from us. Wes, we missed you. We'll catch you probably next episode.